Hello, welcome back to Vlogmas day, I think this is gonna be like day 10, 9, hold on, let's see. Vlogmas day 9. You are resting on a candle in a very weird setup. We are keeping this extremely casual. It's gonna be a little sit down, chitty chat, life update, and whatchamacallit, I am in my parents' home. So if you've never seen this before, I am back at my parents' house. And that's kind of like what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to be answering the most frequently asked question that I've been getting for the past few weeks, ever since I told the internet why or that I'll be moving out of my apartment, which is what I'm going to be talking about in today's video, kind of answering why I am doing that and going to be explaining a lot about, you know, what's next, basically, why I'm moving out, etc. And then in another video coming very soon, I'm going to be talking about what's like next in my life, because I just actually finished college recently, and you know, obviously there's got to be other things coming after college. So I'm going to be talking about that in an entire video of its own, because there's just going to be a lot more to talk about over there. So the two will kind of go hand in hand, but first I'm going to talk about why I'm moving out of my apartment. So first, let me just say, I'm a very sporadic person. I make very sporadic decisions, and when I do make those decisions, they're typically well thought out. However, I make them and then I want them to happen and I act on them. So I was at my apartment in Philly, college apartment, back in that I had from 2019 to 2020. I stayed there until March, then the pandemic hit. I moved home until May, end of May, beginning of June. Beginning of June, I moved into my new apartment in Philly, outside of Temple's campus, which is where I went to college. Moved out on my own, studio apartment, you guys would have seen it most likely, and have been living there ever since. It's been going extremely well. I've loved the life of living alone, and I knew that I would. I wanted to test that out, and I'm glad I did. I thought I'd be staying there because my lease is until end of May 2021. So I was going to originally stay there until then, until I had some thoughts happen. I had some thoughts going on, and that's basically where we start now. So, loving living alone. However, it's quite costly to live alone in a city. It's also, we are in the middle of a pandemic, and also now it's winter, and before it wasn't like that bad. It's still not that bad because I really don't do much to begin with. I just stay in my apartment all the time, but that is why it's a huge waste of money. There is absolutely no reason for me to be there right now in Philly when there's nothing going on with my job. There's really no reason for me to be there because I can take my job wherever I want. And really, it's just more of an inconvenience than it is a pro to be living there right now, because I have to spend a lot of money on the apartment itself, expenses, things like that. Groceries are an expense, traveling back home. I traveled back home a lot more with the holidays and everything. And then also Dom lives in Lancaster. Dom's my boyfriend, if you did not know. He lives in Lancaster. And yeah, my parents are also, I should preface, my parents live in Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania, which is 2 hours and like 15 minutes-ish northeast of Philadelphia. So it's kind of like northeast PA. It's quite an inconvenience. Also, I take the turnpike, so it's costly. Same with going to see Dom. It's an hour and a half from Philly to Lancaster, and kind of like an hour from my home here to Lancaster. And quite honestly, ever since I moved in, I was on the go like no other. I was either home in Lancaster, at my apartment, or traveling. So honestly, I spent a lot of time in my apartment, but most of the time was spent traveling as well, and that's just a huge inconvenience and a huge expense. So that's kind of like the backstory. I will say that too, Listen, if this year has taught me anything, it is that no matter how much I can plan or think something is going to go as planned, as I plan it, it most likely won't, or there can be changes that you would never even expect. That's the number one thing I've learned this year, because trust me, if you ask absolutely anybody that knows me, I would not be sitting here saying that I'm about to move back into my parents' home and leave Philly. I've been in Philly for 4 years now, which is insane. I fell in love with Philly over 6 years ago and knew that's where I wanted to go to school. That's where I wanted to be, and it's been great ever since. However, I'm kind of losing that love right now. Like, I've been losing that love. There's really not any spark like there used to be, and I'd say that has to do a lot with this year and living there during the pandemic and everything. There's just, the spark really isn't there. And for me, starting off, you know, just graduating college, it's also just not the most financially, like, what is it? The most, what am I trying to say? The most smart idea financially. I would never have said that I would ever be moving home. I was even shocked that I moved home for the months that I did when I came, you know, in March and stayed until end of May. I never expected that, but I especially never expected to say that I'm fully moving back home. And you know, here's another thing I never expected. Back when I was looking to move back in April, March, May time, my mom had suggested to me, because Dom had to move to Lancaster and he already found an apartment, my mom suggested to me, why don't I move to Lancaster? And I truthfully felt as though with my job, I needed to be in Philly because I would have connections, more opportunities in a big area with a very large demographic, which brands kind of look for. So I really thought that I needed to be there, and in hindsight, after being there for now 6 months-ish, I really don't need to be there at all, and I can really be anywhere, and that's the nice part. It's also nice that ever since moving there, I've kind of built my brand up a little bit more and now have an established following where I know my audience demographics, they don't really change that much. It's not that drastic, so I can truthfully make the educated guess that if I move back home or if I move elsewhere, that demographic won't really change much. So now that I rambled on about a little bit of the backstory, let's get into basically my top 5 reasons why I'm going to be moving out of the city and why I'm moving home. So the number one reason I've already kind of mentioned, but it is the biggest reason of all, and it is to save money. My parents have helped me out a lot throughout college. I am super appreciative and grateful for that. However, I do know that when I graduate, aka now, I am basically on my own, and I completely understand that. I've known that for a very long time now, and I'm not like scared about it, but it's just not financially smart for me to basically be spending all of the money I'm making on rent with having your own business and just like starting out in like the beginning phases of it. My mom has always said to me, like, your first few years are going to be your lean years. You can't be spending money in stupid places. And to me, when I thought about it more, and like literally when I say I thought about it more, this thought just occurred to me back when I came home for Thanksgiving, and that was only like 2.5 weeks ago, and that is literally when I decided, actually it was 2 weeks ago, that I would be moving home. So 2 weeks ago, I decided I was going to be moving home because I had already been toying with the thought of how much money I'd be saving if I did move home. And I had already decided a few months ago, not too long before, that after my lease was up in end of May, I would either be moving home or I'd be moving to Lancaster with Dom, and we would move in together there. And that would all just depend on how I'm sitting financially and what would be the smartest decision for me at that time. But now, like I said 2 weeks ago, I just was toying with the thought, okay, but if I moved home sooner in January, that would give me an even bigger time period where I can sit down, save a bunch of money, and then have an even better outlook to see whether moving to Lancaster would be beneficial or would be a smart decision for me, or whether I should stay home. So this was, you know, just within the past few months and weeks that this all really came to life. So once I got that thought 2 weeks ago, I immediately messaged my landlord and I said, listen, this is what I'm thinking. What are the steps that have to go into, you know, transferring over my lease? And I immediately reached out on social media and found someone, which is really amazing. Our timelines match up really well, so it works out. So I will be moving. I'm kind of already starting to move out, but my official move out date, I believe I'm going to move out the 27th of December, but the other girl will be moving in January 1st or 2nd. So it'll be perfect, just in time for the new year. I can really get settled in here, and she can also get settled in and have like everything ready to go for the new year. So I think that's a perfect timeline. And honestly, I'm like, my apartment has helped me grow, but I'm excited to see what me moving home does for me as well. I would have hated this idea years ago and like months ago, weeks ago. I would have hated the thought of it, but it's honestly such a smart decision, and I think it will be beneficial to me in the long run. So that is the number one reason, saving money. I, again, just kind of talked about it, but the second reason is that I had decided a few months ago that I would either be moving back home at the end of my lease or would be moving to Lancaster, just because, again, a few months ago, I was thinking that would be the smartest decision for me financially, would be to move home and save money, or even moving to Lancaster, I would, yes, be spending money, but I would be saving more money than I would be living in Philly. So that still works out. Of course, me and Dom would live together, so expenses would be cut in half, groceries would be cut in half, and cost of living there is a lot less expensive than living in Philly. I actually love visiting Dom in Lancaster. I think it's a cute little area, and I think it would definitely work out for me. You know, again, like I said, I can take my job wherever, so we are kind of like looking forward to moving in together, and I am hoping that when June comes around, or I guess we'd probably be making this decision more so in like March or April, but when that time comes around, you know, I have high hopes that I think we'll be moving in together and I'll be moving out of here. I do not see myself, that's the thing, I am moving home, but both my mom and I, we just can't see me living here for more than just a few months. I like change. There's really not a lot to do around here, and I think with my job, like, while I can be anywhere, I think it's going to get pretty old fast being at home here. It definitely did when I was home back in March through May, so we'll see, but I'll make it work. I've kind of been testing out how I can do this at home, and I think it will work just fine. Like I said, I just can't foresee myself being here long term, because there's not enough to keep me active and busy and happy, I suppose. So that's the second reason. Just a quick few additional notes. With moving home, this is my childhood bedroom. We painted it because it was pink and green, and we painted it white back in, I think, my senior year, junior year of high school. So this room is already like pretty well off. And then when I came home for quarantine back in March, I decked it out a little bit more to make it more like me. So I changed a few things up, cleaned out my room, and made it a little bit nicer. But I'm still toying around with how we are going to do this exactly, but basically my sister's room has not been touched since she was in high school, and it's literally all different colors. It's zebra print. You guys will be seeing all of this throughout the like renovation part of the videos and moving, but we are going to be renovating her room and we're going to be painting it white, and then I will be taking over her room in a sense just for a little bit to turn it into kind of like my studio and office. I don't know if that will be like my bedroom too, or if I'll still be sleeping in here. I don't know if I'll turn this into my office and more so that room into a studio. She has better lighting in that room and a lot more space for shooting. That's why I think it would be beneficial to have her room be the studio. But I have my desk in here, and I'm going to be getting a new desk, so I might set this space up as like a little office instead, and then I'll sleep here and that will just be mainly my studio. I have no idea yet, but that's kind of like a little bit more information about me moving home. We're gonna make it work so that I can still carry on as if I was living at my apartment, and things look like really top of the line, very nice for brands and photo shoots and things like that. So that's very important. It's a very important part of my job. So we're gonna make that work at home, and of course I'll be taking you guys along with for that process because I think it will be super fun to see the before and after. And then also I will still be like traveling back to Philly. I've decided that this is going to be a good decision for me, a business decision for me, to still keep the Philly name and still travel back to Philly every once in a while to do batch shoots. I think that will also help me keep the creativity going and switch up where I'm shooting, because at home there's not too many places. I might have to venture out into other like cities nearby that are closer to than Philly, but I love going to the King of Prussia Mall. I've always loved it. We literally would take day trips there from home, so I will still be going back to Philly every once in a while, and when I do, I'll be doing batch shoots. So that's how I'm gonna kind of make it work. And of course I'll be in Lancaster, traveling there and doing shoots there as well. So yeah, we'll see, but I still plan to go back and forth every now and then to capture content. So that's a little bit further information to kind of make this all work. Again, I've kind of already mentioned a little bit about this, but there's just no reason for me to be in Philly right now. With the pandemic, a lot of things are closed and there's just really nothing to do with winter, especially because it's so cold outside, and like I used to go on like runs, and like that would be nice, or go on walks, and that was a lot of fun. It would be like my alone time. Well, I mean, I'm always alone, but it would be like my time where I'm just disconnected from work and from social media, and I would go on runs and walks around my apartment, shoot outside, and just have fun on my own basically. But being that it's the winter, I don't feel the need to go outside as often, and don't really want to go outside as often because it's so cold out. So there's just absolutely no reason for me to be there right now, and that's just a matter of fact. Maybe in a few years I'll feel differently and maybe I'll move back. I know Dom really wants to move back to Philly, so we'll see in a few years where life brings us, but that's just how I'm feeling right now. Kind of going along with that, I think it's just gonna be a nice break from me and my mind. I feel like when I'm in the city, I feel a lot of pressure to get a lot more done, and in hindsight I've realized I put this pressure on myself because I'm alone, and like if I want to work until 10 o'clock at night and wake up and work at 8 o'clock in the morning, I can do that because I'm alone and I don't really have to give attention to anything else. So it's not really the best headspace to be in or routine to be in. It has affected me kind of negatively, and I find that now when I do come home, I've been coming home for like weeks at a time, and I feel like I'm a lot more at ease here. Like I can still get the same amount of work done as I can back at my apartment, but there's just something like, it's like a relief, and like the pressure has been lifted off my shoulders when I'm at home. So I don't know. I really don't know how else to describe it, but that's how I feel. That's what I've been noticing, and I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like how being there in my apartment makes me feel like I have to do like all of this work and put so much pressure on myself, and that really affects like my mental health, obviously, and sanity. So I think it will just be overall better for me being at home. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it stays that way, but that's just something I've noticed though throughout the past few months that I've been coming home. The last reason, again, is just Dom and I really would like to move in together. So this, again, will just allow me enough time to kind of figure out my financial state and if it's going to be a smart move for me. If not, then, you know, I'll figure it out and prolong it and stay here for as long as need be. But I really do think that this will work out in our favor and we'll be able to move in together the beginning of June probably. So hopefully. Really never know what life's gonna throw at you nowadays. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that like I'm not sad to be moving out of Philly, especially my apartment, because I really love my apartment a lot, but I do think that this is the time to do it. I'm glad that I got the chance to live on my own for a little bit, and I'm glad I got to experience that. I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about just like living on your own, and I really did enjoy it. But like I said, the next chapter of my life will most likely look like Dom and I move in together, and from there on out, I really don't see myself moving out on my own again. So I think that this was great. He also is living on his own, so I think it's beneficial for us that we got to do this for a little bit, and then we'll be able to move in together. And yeah, I don't know, I'm very excited, but obviously just sad because I do love my apartment and I loved the idea of living in Philly, but it's kind of lost its spark and magic for me right now. So I don't know, I guess we'll find out what the next few months brings us. But that is the reason why I'm moving out of Philly. I hope I answered all of your questions. Like I said, I'm going to be talking more about, I kind of like hinted at what I'll be doing post-grad, but I will do an entire video dedicated to what I'm doing post-grad and kind of explain my journey throughout college and even like high school, because I think it could be beneficial for any of you who are currently in high school or who are in college. I think it could be beneficial for you. So I will be talking a lot about that later down the road, like literally in the next few videos I'll be posting that. So stay tuned for that video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, or if you have any other questions you are interested in me answering, I can answer them in the next video if you want, so let me know. But thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.